Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin.
Welcome into Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin here on the Catholic Family Podcast. These two will debate real-life issues from a Catholic perspective every Monday at 9 Eastern. Topics that come up around the dinner table will be given the truth treatment with no punches held and no falsehood left standing. Sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee, and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Matt and Kevin.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin here on the Catholic Family Podcast. Well, finally a treat for everyone. One of my favorite co-hosts is back. We have a very high... Yeah, we have a very high and demanding rate going, that we pay out. So I was able to secure him for today's slot, and
not Joe Rogan.
Right, it's not Joe Rogan. It's not I can't think of anybody else. Whatever. But Kev, good to have you back on the show. Kind of feels right. But I hope everyone enjoyed listening to me and a friend of the show, buddy of Kevin's, me and Eric last week, and then my week prior going solo. So time flies. It's crazy how quick time goes by. So there was somebody in the comments, Kevin, last week, and in the video that I did, they were like, "Great show, but I wish we got to hear Kevin's rant." So maybe you could,
let's go.
Maybe you could add that rant.
I've been holding it all. I've been holding it all in all week, talking about trying to talk about the Titan submarine and stuff. It was funny because when I knew I was going on vacation and all these things were happening that week, I'm like, I want to talk about this stuff so bad. It was the worst time to go on vacation, though. Beautiful vacation. We climbed. Last week, we climbed a huge mountain in Austria, just a crazy accomplishment. Really hard, pretty dangerous, and very cool. Very, very big thing. I shortly, I just say to everyone, challenge yourselves, get out of your comfort zone, go do something really hard once a year, twice a year, every day, whatever you want. But totally feels good and helps you grow. Awesome experience. So, and real quick before we get going, Matt, I mentioned before the show that I'd love to comment on St. Maria Goretti. I think you would as well. It's her feast day today. She's a very special saint to my family. On Sunday. Sorry, we're recording on Sunday. And she's a very special saint for our family because we have a first class relic of hers. So we have that on our little family altar. An amazing saint, so young and yet so strong and understanding. Really, truly understanding what it means to give yourself to God, and be ready to die rather than sin. And it's an amazing thing. It's a simple thing, but it's something that we should all try to emulate. This, I think, what was she, 13, 11
or 14,
14,
12,
13, 14,
somewhere on there. Yeah. And I actually think there's so many beautiful aspects of this story. I actually grew up and we had a devotion to her as well. I don't know if it's because she's Italian, but we had a devotion to her as well. And just when you think that her story of her life and her death and her deathbed really was very what would you call it? Very filled with grace and virtue. The aftermath was even more so in a lot of ways to me, because the thing that really got me, and I think it's one of the greatest examples of Christian charity that we can see today, is that at her canonization done by Pope Pius XII, her killer, Alessandro Serenelli, was present. And I think that to have him there and to, there's photographs of this, for him to be there and have the forgiveness of her family and to witness this young woman that he murdered out of his own, selfish, sinful desires, to stand there with a spirit of forgiveness and watch her be declared by the Universal Church as the Supreme Pontiff speaks from his chair, defining her as saint. A beautiful moment, I think, and we can learn a lot.
Well, and also just to think of how you can only imagine that her intercession, her prayers, I would imagine, are what were a big part of what converted him and, brought him, to a place where he would even want to do that. Say, from a life of obviously terrible sin to being there for a canonization. And that's something that it's easy to forget, again, how the saints are really there for us. I think, we pray to them. We say, St. Maria Goretti, pray for us. But do we really actually think that they actually exist? That they are? They it's not just that they were. They are. They exist. They are part of the mystical body of Christ. They are the triumphant part. They are the ones who are real. And I think it's easy to forget. You think kind of you, I'm saying for myself, I easily think of them as being in the past. As like I read a book, and this was a long time ago, but she exists. She is in heaven right now, and she could be listening to this show. I don't know how that works with communications in heaven, I suppose. St. Maria Grady, please help this to be a good show. Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe when Matt and Kevin, Monday mornings with Matt and Kevin in heaven. That sounds like that'll be part 2 of our podcast someday. Yeah, that's something that
you want to hear that one. It's $11 a month.
Exactly. Not available on iTunes. Anyway, so really to St. Maria, we ask her to pray for us, intercede for us, and to help all of us to remain pure and chaste, especially in these summer times. I think that's as important as it gets.
One more quick point with that. I think about, obviously now she defended her own purity. I think back to the message of Fatima, where Our Lady said that one of the things that offends her the most is immodesty in women. And when I think that, it's very hard for me to say to myself, she wasn't talking about 2023. This was in 15-ish. How did women dress? I mean, it was a very different world. So back then, if she found modesty in women, one of the things that most hurt her heart, imagine today. And we really need her intercession. As you said, she is alive in heaven. She is sharing in the beatific vision, and she cares about what's going on today in the world. And so we certainly need her intercession to keep both of us, both genders, both men and women, pure in heart and mind. And St. Augustine, I remember he said, and this stuck with me forever, he who does not have chaste eyes does not have a chaste heart. So may we have chaste eyes, especially as you said in these summer hours, and turn to her if we need help.
Amen to that. And I mean, speaking of chasteness, I suppose. I don't know if we want to get into that. Well, I mean, it's probably fitting to get into the Francis craziness, and it's something that we know that people don't always want to hear all the drama, and some people really just want to hear all the drama. But boy, I tell you, and Matt, I think you would agree with me that Bergoglio he's going out hot, and I think that a lot of people would agree. I think you said you saw a couple of tweets recently as well that were kind of saying he might feel that his time is coming to an end, and he's trying to put a final exclamation point on his time as Pope, and it's bad, Matt. Yes. It's bad.
This was coming from those around him. So people from 2015, I believe, again in 2020-ish or so, have said, his closer, his inner circle have said that if he feels as though his time is running out, if he gets that sense, he will start to speed it up. He will start to, really ferment his legacy. And just Sunday morning here, Twitter has been exploding. He announced that he will name 21 new cardinals in this September.
Do you know how many he's named already?
I don't know, but I heard 60, that he makes up like 70% now. It's like 70% of the electorate. It's big. It's a big number. I don't have the number, but it's large and it's getting bigger. And he's choosing these men with a mindset that equates his. Two of the things I want to talk about was one of them. I don't have his name. I just read it as I was scrolling through Twitter. One of them, who's getting elevated, said, our mission's not to convert people to Christ. Like, that is not what we're here to do. Bishop Fernandez, the art of kissing guy, he had said yesterday, now this is ironic, I think this was yesterday or the day before, he had said that doctrines don't save, Jesus does. Now, this is an odd phrase to come out of somebody who's supposedly the director of doctrine, who's, as I mentioned this with Eric last week, they're mocking. I mean, this is total mockery, because the actual position, you could put this into Google and it comes up on the top, the office that this man holds or will hold, whatever way it works out, is his job is to defend church doctrine against heresy. That's the actual office, and this guy is going to lead it. Well, this is a guy. This is someone who said that we don't adhere to doctrines. Now, I pulled up.
But see, real quickly, that's pretty much. I mean, that's Bergoglio, and he's a king of this. That is him saying very clearly that there is no doctrine, Matt. That is exactly what he's saying. He is saying that there is no doctrine in the church. Everything that the church has taught before, even JP2, it doesn't exist, because every religion is just as good as being Catholic. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. Why call yourself a Catholic? I mean, this is not too surprising. He's just taking it just one step further. And as you say, he appointed a guy who doesn't believe in doctrine to run the doctrinal office in the Vatican. So he doesn't do these things on accident. This is very purposeful.
He's not dumb. It's all coordinated. And I wanted to read to counter these insane points. Pope Leo the 13th here, he has said, quote, "Whoever has departed in even the least way from the doctrine proposed by this authentic magisterium is banished from the church. By rejecting one single truth, he sends himself headlong into open heresy. In one sweeping act, he repudiates the entirety of the Christian doctrine." That D word again. Now, you think about it here, these people don't believe in doctrine anymore. They just believe in encounter and gazes and friendships and all of these things. And you and I had said this on previous shows, and it's coming true more and more and more. John the 23rd and Paul the 6th ushered this stuff in. Benedict and John Paul II, they were that bridge, right? They were post-Vatican, but they had that element, I guess you can say, that was still pre-Vatican. Bergoglio is full-blown conciliar, and not only is he full-blown conciliar, he is injecting himself with steroids and pumping this thing out, right? His legacy is going to be cemented, and man, this next one is going to be a doozy, and I hope it wakes people up.
Well, and I think it's a good reminder to remember the four main heresies of the Second Vatican Council. Modernism, indifferentism, collegiality, and false ecumenism. And if you really look those things up, and I got that from Father Dominic Radecki, I believe. So that is not my list. It's from one of the Radecki fathers. And if you look those up and learn about them, and then look at what Francis is doing, it is he's just following what was laid down by Vatican II. And Louis Verrecchio, again, a friend of the show who's been on before, and he's got some really good stuff lately over at akacatholic.org. I think I'll try to look that up. Great stuff. Just Google AKA Catholic. He's been putting out some really good stuff lately, and it has to do with kind of on this topic as well. And he was a guy who was fairly recently in the Novus Ordo and then the Recognize and Resist. And now he has admitted that there is no Pope and fully admits that the issue goes back to Vatican II. And I think that's where we got to get to, because you see right now, everybody is admitting that Francis is going pretty crazy. And I mean, who denies that? I mean, as you said, people at EWTN are saying, whoa, okay, this is heating up. So this is not secret. The point that we need to push is this is not just Francis. This is not just since 2013. This goes all the way back to 1958.
Yes. And the point that I think really needs to be emphasized here is that if these men, if him and his predecessors and whoever his successor is, which I'm sure will be a real gem, if they're true popes, then this stuff matters, right? Because if it doesn't, then what's the point? Then Christ set up a church that is no more fallible than the Anglicans or the Lutherans or whatever else you might have here. Because then what is there? If the church can just teach and promulgate and give error, at a whim, then what's the point? Then how do you know that maybe Trent wasn't wrong? I mean, what do you start picking and pulling apart? And I think he does know what he's doing, as we said before, and he is making sure that anything that is a reminder of the old church is done away with. And I think that he has realized in a lot of ways that these people who they got, Summorum Pontificum, and he realized that they weren't just attached to liturgy. There were a lot of people, myself included, and many that I knew, who were also pretty anti-Vatican II, even when we were Recognize and Resist, we were against these things. And he sees that as a problem. He saw it as a problem, and he's digging his heels in, and he is shaping this false church to just be the total. I mean, if this is not the great apostasy and the total ape of the church, then what?
It's the horror. It's the horror of Babylon, man. I mean, he just appointed James Martin, Hellboy. I mean, flaming homosexual. I mean, public defender of homosexuals constantly,
countless times,
and he just appointed him as a delegate or something to the synodality.
Yes, they're all.
I mean, can you imagine? I just put this into context. I mean, not even context.
Kupich.
Imagine any action. Kupich. What was the other
guy from DC? I forget his name.
Gerard. Oh, I forget his name too, but several of these guys
big
who are,
names.
yeah, they're big names, and they're all, or again, I got to be careful. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but as far as I know, at least a number of them are famous for being pro-homosexual. So it's like, okay, how are we supposed to take this? Bergoglio is making clear statements. He is putting someone in charge of doctrine who doesn't believe in doctrine. He's bringing a synod together that has people that are clearly pro-homosexual. This is a clear teaching of the church. You cannot change it. You cannot come out and say homosexuality is not a sin. Right. I mean, again, obviously, you can't do that with divorce and remarriage. You can't do it with all sorts of other things. Obviously, there's many other topics, but I mean, I think we need to be really clear about that. That if they're going to have a synod, and this is going to be a topic because, well, James Martin's there. Why would James Martin be there if they're not talking about homosexuals, man? So they're going to talk about it, and you know for sure they're going to. Something's going to happen. They're going to have a very vague document that, like Amoris Laetitia, that's pretty much going to say that it's okay. It's all right if you live, in sin with someone of the same, same sex. I mean, who am I to? Yeah, exactly. and it's disgusting, and it's not Catholic. It's just pure and simple.
And to think that there are people out there that believe that this is the spotless bride of Christ, I think really more than anything is just shocking, because these people, they'll say, sure, the church is spotless and the church can't give error, but the men in it do err. The men in it do, are human and they can teach wrongly. Well, the thing is, though, is that what's being promulgated upon us is coming from the authority of that spotless bride of Christ. It's not just people. It's not a rogue priest. It's not a rogue bishop. It's not a rogue group. It's the full weight of the magisterium.
It's not a rogue pope. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Right. It's the full weight here of their authority. That is being pushed on us, and yeah, what has James Martin ever done other than talk about this stuff? You could search his Twitter feed. He has referred to the Holy Ghost as she and her countless times. Wouldn't shock me if Bergoglio believed the same. He probably, I bet he's more radical than what he says out of his mouth. He probably is a little bit careful.
I don't know if I don't know if he believes anything, actually. I think Bergoglio might be a pure nihilist who hates everything. That's what it seems to me. I think he is a guy who just he wants destruction. I think he takes pleasure in tearing down rather than building up, and I think you can see that.
He is the one that said make a mess, right? I forget what he was referring to, but he did say that. Make sure you make a mess. God is not sloppy. God brings order out of chaos. And we see that in Genesis. The universe was chaotic and God brought order. God always brings order, not chaos and messes. And
again, you see, I mean, how tragic it is for the people who see him as Pope and see this as a church. I mean, that's so sad, because I mean, what a disturbing image that you must have of the Holy Catholic Church. I mean, because of all the things and there have been things that the men in the church have done wrong in the past. That's true. Of course, there have been sinners. There have been bad popes. There have been evil men who have done evil things in the name of the Catholic Church. But again, that's not the same as the entire church, having synods and having, religious councils with Jews and Muslims and Buddhists and saying, hey, we're all good. It's not the same. And I think that it's pure cognitive dissonance trying to say that it is. That the Borgias, who were awful men, who had concubines in the Vatican, that is a horrible, horrible scandal. That was not a manner of teaching error to the church. It's not the same thing. And I think it's something that, again, it's stop trying to make excuses. Just look at it what it is. What is it right now in Rome? Can that be the Catholic Church? You tell me. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me. You got you listeners right now who are on the fence about this. Can that be the Catholic Church? Can the Catholic Church invite James Martin to a synod? No.
And the final line here, is not my words, but I have this pulled up. It was Pope Pius IX. This is Denzinger. You can pull it up. You can reference it yourself. So as you always say, don't listen to what I'm saying. Denzinger, 1827. The faithful are bound. This is Pope Pius IX. The faithful are bound by true obedience to the Roman Pontiff, not only in things which pertain to faith and morals, but also which pertain to discipline and governance of the church. No one can deviate from this and keep his salvation. That's Denzinger, 1827. You have to understand that this is what the church has always taught. You But you ask yourself, well, why do they speak like this? Why do they say, I am bound by true obedience to the Roman pontiff, and if I deviate from it, I cannot keep my salvation? Well, why do they even say that? Because the very reason that the Pope is the vicar of Christ. And if Christ was still on this earth, I safely can cling to Christ, but he's not still on this earth. So he left us his vicar, who I know that I can always safely cling to and have the fullness of truth, have the full Catholic religion. That is why they speak this way, because it's for our own safety. It's not an evil demand, or it's not, this that you must listen to the Pope or else. It's because that we are safe here, and it's a command, like the 10 Commandments. They're a command of God for our good, and that is why. And people really need to understand that and use that perspective. It's of utmost importance to recognize this man as a false anti-pope. You have to. It's not an option. As I read last week in my show with Eric, Father Desposito, that is how you say it, by the way. Somebody asked me if I said it right. I've heard him say it, and he does say Desposito. Father Desposito said the only way you can truly be a Catholic today is to be a sedevacantist. There's no other option at this point. So.
Well, and interestingly enough, Father Altman, James Altman,
yes,
I think, he just recently, I think over the weekend, in some conference, or at least the video was published, I don't know when the conference was held, came out and said that Francis cannot be the Pope. He must be an imposter. That's so Father Altman, or I don't know, maybe Mr. Altman, I'm not sure of his ordination, yes. But yes,
he's not.
He is right now a sedevacantist. Now, obviously, there are many different types of sedevacantism, because literally it just means the seat is empty. But by the actual definition, he just said that he's not the Pope. Now, good for him. Seriously, that's awesome. And I pray that he, Father or Mr. Altman, that he goes and finds the root. Don't stop here. Don't stop with Francis. It's just not enough. You can't just say, I don't like this guy, he's bad. It's true. He's not a Pope. He can't be. But it does not start with him. Please, anyone listening to this, go back and look at the documents of Vatican II, look at the documents before Vatican II, and you're going to very quickly understand that what happened was a split from the true Catholic Church. So, Matt, I know I really wanted to talk about, I'm jumping to a new topic. Unless, do you have any final comments on that?
Go for it. No, go for it.
I missed talking about the Titan, and I know you said you wanted to you had a couple final comments on it. We're not going to spend too much time on it. Yeah. But I wanted to talk about it because I think it's a really interesting moral dilemma. So I'll let you start, and then we'll talk a little bit about that. We're not going to talk too much again because I know you covered it a bit in your
show. Yeah. Some of the things that I read apparently over the either the weekend or the week before. It's like Friday. Where are we here?
9th.
Like July 7th. Yeah, like July 6th or 7th. A transcript was reportedly leaked. So I guess the mothership was sending text messages to the Titan. The Titan was sending them back, and they had to communicate. Now this came out and you could read it. I watched it on YouTube, but there's articles as well. The transcript must have gotten leaked. Now they don't know if they can confirm its authenticity or not. So who knows? So big toss of the coin here. But what's interesting is that if it's true, if it's real, the Titan was descending at a rate much quicker than what it was supposed to be. So for example, when it was at, I'm in the US here, so I need to use feet, meters, inches. But when it was at like 6,000 feet deep or whatever, it should have only been at 4,000 feet deep. And the mothership was saying you're descending too fast. And they would communicate back and say, no, we're not, we're fine. And then apparently it happened again. And then, so they continued to fall at a rate that was exceeded what was recommended. I guess the mothership suggested start to, you need to release your weights, or you need to let something go here. You've got to lift yourself up. And they insisted that they were fine. And it appears that after a few more exchanges, communication cut off. Somebody had said, now again, who knows how true all this stuff is, but somebody had said that there is a report that the Titan shifted like nose down, and so causing everybody in the submarine to slide to the front, basically. So everybody slid down because it was no longer, like upright like a car, but nose down, diving deep into the water. And then that's when everything got kind of broke and crushed and imploded. The stuff that Stockton Rush had said too, the founder of OceanGate and the captain with his Logitech controller of the ship, had said crazy stuff like the glue that we used to seal the one of the main hubs was like as good as peanut butter or something like that. And I read over the weekend, they released, this is real, was on Yahoo. They released the warrant you sign before you go on. It was a 3-page document. I said, let me read it because I was interested. So I read the whole thing. And you have to sign your name in a bunch of spots. But not only do you acknowledge that it is an experimental submarine, that that there is no really life-saving measures available to you. They say we're far away from land. We're, if we've got to go up for an emergency, the ship has first aid on it, but we can't guarantee anything. We are not responsible for bodily harm, mental trauma, blah blah blah, all these things, and that could result in your death 20 times or so. Well, 3, but it's repeated constantly. So again, I think you want to talk about this too. Is at what point do we risk doing something like this where the risk might be too much? Like, are we cheating death? Would be a sin to cheat death? Where does it kind of lay in your opinion, or any other thoughts you had, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, it's a great question. It's something that I am not a moral theologian. I don't really have an answer, but it is a really interesting topic. I mean, it's the same, we did this big hike over the weekend, and we started talking about Everest, and it's like, okay, is it morally okay to go up Everest? And I mean, I think it's another good question, because I mean, I think obviously it depends on the person. Probably, are you fit enough? I mean, are you prepared enough? I mean, et cetera, et cetera. Now with the Titan, yeah, I mean, I think you're risking something that just doesn't need to be risked. And I think I did hear that there a couple of them at least were researchers. They were down there trying to do research on the Titanic. And I think that, to me, it also begs the question of, what are we spending our money on? Several of these guys are spending $250,000. Now that's their own money. I'm fine with capitalism. You want to spend your money, okay, but what are we doing? I just say, you got so much money that you could be spending on good, or actually looking into something that actually does need a solution. I mean, the Titanic sunk, 100 years ago, and people are all dead that were down there, and saved that were up. We know pretty much everything. There's been movies made about it, hundreds of documentaries. What are you going to learn that you didn't already know? Almost nothing. And it's all documented. There's very little. It's literally, you're just going down there to say that you did, and you're doing it in an experimental craft because, I don't know, probably because it's the only one who privately offers, trips down. And I think it comes to this point where it's like, what are the rich doing? I mean, capitalism, again, I think it's fine to be rich, but that's, if you think, when you have that much money, look at Elon Musk. He has so much money. His desire now is to go to the moon, or to Mars. Now, okay, it's his money. He's a billionaire. Okay, fine, but why? Well, I mean, I understand the exploration and discovery, but if the science is right about Mars, and we know about Mars what we think we know, it's a desert landscape. I mean, it's just a matter of being able to say that we did it. Now, the old time explorers, I mean, the moon might be a little bit different. I don't know if we actually needed to go to the moon, but the idea of going to, and I don't know if we did. Anyway, the idea of going into space makes sense. We have satellites. There's a lot of things we get from, actually being up there, but going to the moon, I don't know. But I think that's also another question. What type of exploration is good and necessary and productive, and what type is just purely you trying to reach your adrenaline levels, and I think that's where we're at, honestly.
And I wonder too, because I think, and I could get these numbers wrong, but it was something along the lines of the Titan has made 28 dives and successfully reached the Titanic like 7 times. So I could be wrong, but the numbers are odd. So if you pay all that money and they abort the mission, do you get your money back? Like, I would be pretty upset that if I paid all that money to do that, and we kind of, went as deep as where dolphins swim, I'd be like, well, hey, what was that? So I don't know if you get your money back, but that's a good point too, is that this wasn't like research, because it is interesting to me to, see underwater life, or to see creatures that we've never seen before. There's those pictures of the animals that live so deep where there's no light, that they're creepy looking, right? Yeah. It's interesting to see, and to bring to our knowledge that does, lead to see what God's creation is. Like, I don't see a problem with that there. But as you said, they're going just to look, and with a very good understanding that you're subject to immense pressure, that there's, the design of this thing is beyond poor, and it's laughable in a lot of ways. So is it like you said? Is it an adrenaline rush? Like, are you willing to risk that much just to see this? And from what I understand, you wouldn't even you would see the ship through a camera on a screen in the hub. You wouldn't even really be able to look at it. Like you can't touch it. You can't do anything with it other than see it on a screen that you can do from your own house. So I think I do wonder. There have been people who said, was this some sort of distraction? I don't know, because it seems like I texted you this earlier. There's a Harvard professor who said he found alien technology or whatever. It's like just when one thing goes up, one thing we went from the balloon to the aliens to the Titan to the aliens to the. It's like they're trying to. I don't know what's going on, but the whole story itself. But it was weird because I when I did my first show on this, people were glued to this thing. Like this was the talk everywhere. Everybody wanted to talk about what was going on, and it's just weird how these stories, capture everyone's attention. Everybody knows what's going on, and then they kind of go away. But man, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever know. And if whatever they do tell us, I always, take what somebody at the news desk says in one ear and kind of out the other. I don't know how much I always believe, but very interesting in developments with that. And what shocked me too is that they said that this thing just imploded into slime, right? And then all of a sudden they're pulling up chunks like the size of like cars. Like, well, did it explode? Did it? You saw that? Like, did it explode or did it not? What are we pulling up? I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, it's all weird. I mean, as you said, I think sometimes it is just trying to keep things in the news, and it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to even be that they're trying to distract us. It literally could just be a slow news day, and Fox News is like. True. I got on Fox News today, and this is actually pretty crazy because I mean, I used to be. I'm not a Fox News guy, but I mean, I don't go to CNN. So if I'm looking at what are the top headlines, I go to Fox News.
I used to be too. Yeah.
Man, I just went to Fox News. This is pretty wild. Don't go on Fox News. I literally just went on there. It's like, okay, what can I talk about with Matt today? And I'm telling you, 2 or 3 out of the top 10 of their quote unquote stories on my phone were like half naked women on the front. And I don't even remember what the stories were, but I mean, like bizarre. I mean, like one of them I know for sure. I was scrolling through quickly, obviously, but I saw it was something like so and so, star wears this outfit at some event or something. It's like, wait, what? I mean, what are we talking about? Is this what? So Fox News just put up half naked women? I mean, it's probably they probably think this is what's going to keep men on the page talking again about modesty and chastity. But there was nothing. There was nothing. I mean, Matt, I'm not. I mean, there was zero to talk about. I looked through probably 20 stories, and it was pure garbage. And so I imagine it could also literally be they're just. If something happens that it's kind of captivating, then they're gonna hit it as far as they can, and I think that's also possible.
A good thing that we have Bergoglio to keep the news busy. He's a
this guy, man. Mario Dirksen is going to be the busiest man on earth until Bergoglio dies. He is. That's just the case. He is.
People really need to listen to. I finished both. So I watched your show with Mario in the first place to kind of reply to Kennedy Hall. You took the video and you were excellent with the technology, Kevin. Just beautifully done. And then he kind of made was it a reply to you both directly, or I don't know. I would say yes. It seems like it
more to Mario. I don't think I'm a nobody.
But both. Yeah. And then so Mario did the 2 Tradcasts, 170. It's sad that I know these things. 174 and 170. It's funny. This is so off topic, but I had messaged him once. And I was like, I love, what did I say? I was like, I love Tradcast 159. And he was like, I don't know what I said. But yeah, so these 2 rebuttals are really, really good. And I really suggest people listen to them because I think Mario brings it up in the first one. There's a misunderstanding as to what schism is and what schism can be attributed to and how it applies in certain situations. So it's very beneficial. So I would certainly recommend people go to 174, 175 and hear the rebuttals. Very, very good, very, very knowledgeable. And as you said earlier, make your judgments. It's pretty clear where you can put aside the talking points of all these talking heads and look at what the actual documents from the church and the magisterium say. And there's only one logical conclusion here.
Well, and I mean, Kennedy Hall, and he seems like a nice guy. I've got zero against him. He does. But his argument was, hey, I actually think that what Sedevacanta say is actually pretty legit. I don't have any problem with what they believe. They're just mean. That was almost verbatim what he said.
That was very yes.
And it's like, wait, what? Really? I mean, like that's your starting argument, is that we actually make some really good points and might even be right, but we're not very nice, and so our position is not true because we're not very nice. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't want to start bashing Kennedy Hall, because then I'm being mean and I'm proving his point that the state of Wisconsin are a bunch of jerks. But I mean, it's like, okay, again, people out there listening, follow. Is it true or is it not? You don't have to believe it because someone else believes it. I'm not a Catholic because my parents were Catholic. Now, at a time, yeah, that's true. But eventually it had to become my own. I had to determine, is it true or is it not? Traditional Catholicism, the true faith passed down from Christ, it's not my faith because Matt says it is, because my parents say it is, because my priests say it is. It's because I believe it is. I don't care if someone's mean about it. Is it true or is it not?
Right. And what's strange is I really don't think that it's mean. Like it's just people don't like
Feniites.
Well, him.
Right.
He's a character. Yes, Peter Diamond is mean. Maybe he'll come on here and maybe we can talk about.
And his followers, his minions are nasty.
That's all him. And I told him that, and he said I was going to help. Did I tell you this?
Did he tell you you're going to help?
Yeah, because he's got like 10 people who like all his tweets all the time, and they all have "Go to Vatican Catholic" in their bio.
It's true.
And I said these are just Peter Diamond's alternate accounts, and then he accused me of being in mortal sin for saying that. I'm like, this guy. Oh man, he must be real fun with a cup of coffee.
He would. That would be quite the conversation.
But yeah, maybe someday you can come on. But last point, we didn't get our guest that we wanted, Kev. Taylor Marshall has resigned from the Oval Office that he is such a shoo-in for. And
he fought hard, Matt.
I mean,
he had a good run.
It was like Obama Hillary, it was like that.
he put his whole heart into that presidential run. I tell you,
every state, every town. Yeah, I wouldn't stop getting calls,
knocking on doors.
Every night, like Jehovah's Witnesses.
And again, I don't want to be uncharitable. I've actually defended Taylor Marshall on many occasions. I think he seems like a fairly stand-up guy. What on earth is he doing? I mean, I think there's two options. Either it was purely a publicity stunt. 100%. He just wanted the pub. Yeah, he has done that in the past. And he just wanted pub. He wanted more followers. It was going to boost his, esteem or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or
added to his resume.
Or he didn't actually understand what it took to actually run for president. I mean, I doubt that. I think he maybe just didn't really actually realize what he was getting into. And who knows? I mean, I'm really serious when maybe someone gave him a call and said, "Hey, you're backing out, and we're not going to give you a choice." I mean, I think that's possible. Because I actually think the actual issue, and this is really interesting. You and I talked about this when he mentioned it. Because if Taylor Marshall actually ran, he would have to get the vote of actual Catholics, almost surely. Now, if he was a viable candidate, because that's kind of the part that has to be part of it too. But if he was actually in the primaries, I think you and I would actually be almost bound. If we're going to vote, you'd be obligated to vote for him because he would be the one person who would hold all of the actual Catholic doctrines and morals. And I think he would. And so I think Taylor Marshall actually could have been an interesting problem. And I don't think he wouldn't have won. There's no way he would have won, but I think he could have thrown a screwdriver into the machine. And I think it's possible that the powers that be came to him and said, "Hey bro, you like all your kids?"
I was just gonna say, do you like living?
Yeah,
it wouldn't shock me. They're not. These people like in the power of Pelosi and like they're not going to tolerate someone like this running around like putting a wrench, as you said, a wrench in there
and getting the actual Catholic vote. Right. I mean, that'd be terrifying. I just imagine Taylor Marshall as a Catholic, and again, we disagree on a lot, Taylor Marshall and I, but he also has a lot right. And he is far more Catholic than Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden. So if you actually had an actual Catholic running, I think the rest of the world would be kind of like, wait, what do you believe? What are you talking about? And then when they compare it to Pelosi's nonsense and Biden, I think you would actually have quite a few Catholics and maybe even Christians wake up and say, hey, whoa, okay, yeah, that's true. Maybe we can't vote for Pelosi and Biden and whatnot. So I think he actually would have been fairly dangerous.
Yeah.
Strangely enough. And he backed up. So.
Yeah,
bummer.
If he ever intended.
Man, Matt, we could have talked every week about Taylor Marshall's presidential run. Thanks a lot, Taylor
I know.
Marshall.
He blew it Imagine him in the debate. I would have liked to have seen a debate. I would have liked to have seen him on this and hear what he would have had to say to these people. That's one thing that I really appreciated in watching Trump, was that he said to these people's faces what everybody in their living room would think. And how real, I don't know, but it was just funny to have somebody who actually stood face to face with all of these powers that be and said stuff that like was good.
You would be in prison.
Yeah. His classic moment. Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Only Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah, true. no, it's interesting. And yeah, unfortunate. Whatever it was, if it was just to make some money or if it was because he was pressured to get out, it is I think it is sad. Actually, I was really looking forward to it. I think that it's hopeless. I don't think any candidate with a soul is ever going to win, probably in our lifetime, in the major elections. Now, I think the minor elections, your hometown little elections, sheriff, mayor, whatnot. My brother-in-law is a mayor, so I mean, I think there's absolutely the possibility to do that, and I think that in many cases makes a bigger difference than these big ones. The big ones just can cause nuclear war and stuff. But local politics, I fully believe in it. But on the other side, be really, really careful who you affiliate with. I think that's another thing. That Germany, you don't have any affiliation. Like when you run for mayor, you don't have any affiliations, and I think that's not the case in the U.S. You probably have to join a party. And boy, I tell you what, you have to join a party. Watch out. You end up with fellas like Nick Fuentes and whatnot. It is
Angela Merkel.
Oh, yeah, Angela Merkel, yeah, who is very, very conservative, and she is part of the Christian Democratic.
Is she?
She was part of the Conservative Party. Angela
Really?
Merkel, yeah, the Christian conservatives, pretty much. Not. It shows you how conservatism is in Germany. You start left, and then you go really left.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, no, it was fun, Matt. As always, it's been a nice chat with you. Boy, we covered quite a bit of stuff today.
A lot of stuff.
Francis Craziness, St. Maria Goretti, the Titan sub, and Taylor Marshall bailing on us. Yeah. Hey, Taylor Marshall, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you are,
now he can come on.
I'm sure I am sure he is a longtime listener to Matt and Kevin podcast. Come on the show, tell us why exactly you left your presidential race. We'd love to know about it, and let's become best friends. Matt, I'll talk to you next week. Until then, everybody, Matt, God bless y'all.
Thank you for listening. Tune in every Monday at 9 Eastern for a brand new episode.